Welcome to Dog Moms Do Business,
the podcast where two lifelong friends find sisterhood in business, life, and being crazy millennial dog moms. We're your hosts, Ellen Broen
and Jasmine Jonte, and today's episode is all about...
Dearest gentle listener, today we are talking about Bridgerton, Season 3, Part 1.
Wait, what's the intro song?
Of Bridgerton?
Yeah, I'm like, can't think of it. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na-na-na. And the bridge, the tree.
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the things I wrote down, is like the bee theme. Have you noticed the theme about the bee and how they take the Netflix N and turn it into a Bridgerton N on the intro? Yes, and the sound changes and it's more, genteel or whatever the fuck.
Yes.
And then there's a bee, which is also a callback to last season when Anthony
got stung or got triggered by the bee sting.
By the bee sting. And also, bees, queen bees and fertility. Bees do the impossible. Like bees literally, like they do impossible things. So, anywho.
Love the attention to detail already.
That's how I roll. So
you took the, understand the assignment.
I understand the assignment. So here's our plan for this, gentle listener, is,
Bridgerton. I'm just gonna speak in random British accents. In the most popular way.
We're gonna kind of break down the high level, both what happened and what we think about it, and what our theories are into part 2 and moving forward.
Yes.
So kind of all things Bridgerton season 3. If you have not watched it, there's lots of spoilers, so you might not want to listen to this.
Which, can I just say, there was a person on my Facebook, in my Facebook world, who I actually didn't even know. I think she was one of those, probably a business networking connection or something that I'm connected to long ago, who I don't really know, spoiled the last line of the entire part 1 on her Facebook status. No spoiler alert, no nothing. Just said, Colin, will you marry me already, Penelope? And that was her status on Friday. And I hadn't watched. I was so mad. I was like, of course we know that that's where this is going, but
we don't know.
Screw you.
We know what we don't know.
I actually unfriended her. I didn't even know her, so I was just
whatever.
What a rude person for spoiling.
Do you know that my brother, when we would get the Harry Potter books, we would only get one for the family, right? Because, you get one and then you share it. So me being the nice sister that I am, let him read the books before me.
Did he spoil Harry Potter?
He hands me the book and goes, Dumbledore dies.
Someone else did the exact same thing to me, but it was so far after the series came out, I was an adult. And I was like, I don't think I read the final one. I don't remember how it ends. They're like, Dumbledore dies. I was like, guess I'm not going to read it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. It was like, I've never been so, it was more painful than any physical pain he's ever caused me.
I can't believe he would be so cruel
he's not
to his good big sister Jasmine.
He's not like that anymore. In fact, right now he's reading Fourth Wing on my suggestion.
Yes.
And he sent me a video today that goes, can you believe that, Dane?
Fucking Dane.
Anywho.
I think that's the fourth man we've roped
turned
into
on
singing.
Too. Yeah, and I told my dad too. My dad should read it because he likes, he likes Hunger Games and Harry Potter. He likes this genre.
Yeah.
So, anywho.
Nice.
Back to Bridgerton.
So, overall impressions, thoughts. Do we want to talk plot or do we want to talk impressions first?
I think plot.
Okay. You want to give us overview and I'll fill in?
So, I kind of think in terms of storylines.
Yeah.
And so the main storyline here is Colin and Penelope.
Right.
And so in the first 2 episodes, they get into this situation where, well, first of all, Colin comes back from travels abroad for the season, and he's kind of turned into an asshole, I think. So he's kind of he's, got all these women around him. He's very fashion forward. He got super fit, fit as fuck or whatever. And Penelope swoons over him as per usual.
As every woman in the ton
did. Every woman in the ton. But Penelope has always swooned over him, even when he wasn't this, new version of himself. Right. And Penelope decides she wants to find a husband. So she
mostly because of her family is just absolutely driving her insane.
Yes.
She wants the freedom from the drama.
Yes, absolutely. And her issue is like, well, how can I be Lady Whistledown and also, you know, find a person who's going to give me the freedom and the flexibility and the space to do that and the privacy, right? So, so Penelope gets a glow up in the first episode, and she enlists Colin to help her flirt better.
Learn how to charm.
Yes.
Be charming.
Learn how to be charming. And at the end of the second episode, this is outed to the Ton, right?
Yes.
And she's like, they meet in a garden, and she says, okay, Colin, like, I don't want to die without being kissed. Will you please just kiss me? So these first two episodes, I just remember thinking, like, how does he not know? Like, how is he this, how does he not know? Right? They kiss, and she runs inside, and he has a look on his face that's kind of hard to decipher. So we go into episode 3, and in episode 3, it opens with a dream sequence.
Right.
Where, you know, they're back in the garden, and Colin is saying things like, I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop, you know,
thinking about our kiss.
It's just overwhelming. And so then they go hot and heavy to a little makeout session. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Penelope, like, you got to let this go, girl, right? Throughout this dream sequence. And it's Colin's dream, which I did not see coming at all. I was like, oh, that was such a good little device there. And so the next 2 episodes are about Penelope finding this guy, Lord Debling, and who potentially she could be matched with. At one point, he asks for her mom's hand in marriage. And
her mom's permission for her hand in marriage. Yep.
Yes. And then we have kind of the reverse where Penelope's like, let go of Colin, because she's like, I kissed him. He's not into me. It's laughable. Let me go with the guy, the practical choice. And meanwhile, Colin has, as you can tell, completely fallen in love with Penelope.
Right.
And so the end is through various people helping, like Violet, the mom, and such. They end up having a super dope carriage ride. And then he asks her to marry him.
Well, kind of. Tells her, aren't you going to marry me?
For God's sake, Penelope. Yeah. So that's kind of the very high level of the Colin Penelope arc.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? Do tell.
Okay. Well, so I watched it once through and then kind of went back through.
Yeah.
First take was honestly disappointed.
Really?
First take.
Okay.
I will say it changed as I went back. Mostly because, you know, I didn't rewatch season 1 and season 2 for all of their love backstory, right? Like their friendship and stuff. And so to me, coming as a fresh viewer, hasn't seen anything since last season, didn't rewatch a bunch of things.
Just watch the recap.
I felt like this whole split part thing, like having a part 1 come out with 4 episodes, rushed their story too much. Cause like the previous seasons were at least like 8 episodes, and the main story, like the main love arc, would take all like 7 or 8 episodes. It would take a long time to climax. And so it felt much slower. And this was just kind of like, you know, Colin came back, she got a glow up, he got jealous because she was getting attention, then he asked her to marry him. Like, it was just kind of felt like this is like kind of on stilts here.
Not
like,
enough tension building.
Not enough like depth to the story. But I was like, well, that was disappointing, you know, like I felt that way. And then I watched some recaps of like on YouTube of their like story arc before, like seasons 1 and seasons 2 together, to like see how it's progressed until now. And then that was like, oh, like there has been a lot of tension building over the years, but you know, she was so oblivious to, like, there was no tension in her mind anymore because it was a done thing. He said, never in my wildest dreams would I ever propose to, you know, Penelope Featherington. So she was just like, well, this is never happening. So because she was so oblivious to the tension, it kind of just felt very sudden. Like that, like, okay, like I understand that they kissed, but like, yeah, like the inscrutable look that he had on his face after that, it wasn't like, I'm struck with love. He was just kind of like, huh?
Yeah, which I think is probably accurate.
Sure. But yeah, I think just cramming it into 4 episodes, I have a theory about why they did it, but like,
I feel like they had to do that because either if they spent the whole season, then all of next season will be consumed with how does he find out that she's Lady Whistledown,
Exactly.
which is the next.
I think
half of
conflict
this
is
season.
coming.
Yeah.
So we're getting that resolution, that small climax that we all want, that like they're going to get married and stuff. But he has damned Lady Whistledown so many times that it's going to go down.
Right.
For sure.
Exactly.
But yeah, so my first take was, gosh, this was like fast and crammed and didn't have a lot of sexual tension building, and except for just like the kiss to carriage. Like it was just like all of a sudden we're there. But yeah, going back through, I felt like, okay, all right. I understand how we've been building for a while.
Yeah. And I've loved them since the beginning. Like their friendship and their partnership since the first episode has been really exciting to me.
Yes.
And so I think that's why I'm kind of I didn't feel disappointed. I didn't feel that way. Yeah. But I can see how coming in without like recalling that would make me feel like
that was fast.
That was really fast, guys. That was really fast. The other thing I noticed about those two particularly is like she gets a lot of words. Like she in the script, she says a lot. He doesn't. And so what was really fascinating was like watching his facial cues, because a lot of times that's all he had to play with.
Yep.
There were no words. And he does a really good job, especially in the dance scene where he interrupts Lord Debling. Like some of the facial expressions there kind of, he didn't have to say anything. So I was like, you know what?
Both of them actually, because with my review of their friendship, I was watching both of like the development of their faces, because like I think from the very beginning of the season 1, we got a zoom in of Penelope watching Colin dance with another woman, and that was like their introduction to this is Penelope and Colin and their dynamic. And like we didn't even see them be friends yet. We just saw this woman like watching a man on the dance floor, like swooning after him, just like totally in love. And so I think both of them have, just from an acting standpoint, have really incredible like range with their faces. But you're right. I mean, I noticed that too with Penelope talks a lot and Colin doesn't.
She does. Yeah. I think, can we go into some theories on them?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Theories on them. I can see him struggling with her being Lady Whistledown.
Yeah.
But growing to appreciate her writing.
Yeah.
Because they both have this shared interest of writing and words and journaling. And
for sure the foreshadowing moment of her seeing his journal, of being like, I love your writing, and it's very difficult for it to sound so easy, but and like sound so effortless, but be so beautiful. I think, I mean, huge foreshadowing to them bonding over writing.
Yeah. So I that's one of my theories.
What if he becomes Lord Whistledown?
I mean, perhaps. I wonder if the queen, when the queen's going to find out about it. I'm less concerned about Colin finding out than I am about the queen. I feel like if the queen finds out, oh shit. But they did say at one point, they were like, maybe this could be a friendly alliance between, I think, Lady Danbury or the person who works with the queen, the guy. Not
Kingsley, Bingsley.
So, yeah, something like that. Yeah, he makes a note of like, well, maybe this could be the start of a friendly alliance between you and Lady Whistledown, right? So I'm hopeful for that as well. But I love this for them. I'm so happy.
I'm so happy.
The nerdy girl, gets the super hot guy, and I just,
happy ending for now.
Yeah, I love a good little happy. It was very satisfying.
Yeah,
to get the happy
and the
ending.
fact that, I mean, I was having a little trouble reconciling. You remember the scandal of the first season with, what was her name?
Daphne
and what's his name?
Really hot guy.
And like they like kissed in the gardens unchaperoned, and it was like, you've besmirched her honor, and it was like a huge deal. And here they are, like he's fingering her in a carriage, and like, I don't know. It just was kind of like interesting, different perspectives, I guess. Maybe because Daphne was like the eldest daughter of this prestigious family.
The diamond of the season.
And then, Penelope is not. Like she's...
And they were in a garden, and Antony saw them.
Right. They were in public.
They were in public versus in a
or
closed carriage. And the fact that they have like the long family history.
Yeah.
Like she's been around Colin unchaperoned many times. So I don't know how much that would play into it.
Yeah.
But,
it was kind of shocking.
And she even makes the comment in the carriage. She says like, did anybody see us? Like I wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, she's so used to paying attention because she gets none.
And could be foreshadowing that somebody saw them or heard them.
That's what I was thinking as well. So anywho. Yes.
So we both theorized that shit is a coming for the Lady Whistledown discovery.
Agreed.
While we're on Colin, so I was listening and watching from a perspective of a viewer and just like a fan, and then also life coach. And the whole dynamic of him coming back with a new personality was like super, I don't know, intriguing to me. And especially the dynamic of Lady Bridgerton, Violet Bridgerton, his mom, kind of coaching him through back to himself towards the end. Cause I mean, he's in his 20s, I'm assuming. Yeah. And you go out and you live your life and you witness the world, like he said, like without the perception of what other people think of you when nobody knows you. And so you get to try on different personalities, you try on different things that you admire in other people, and you see what fits and what doesn't. And sometimes it ends up being like a totally constructed facade, right? Like it's just like bits and pieces of all these people that you like and want to be like, and you just put it on and wear it like a mask or an armor. And, clearly that's what he was doing when he came back, and he was like Mr. Charming about all of his escapades and Italy.
It was like
and
he's
Europe
so much less attractive right now.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you said like asshole. Like I just felt like he didn't care what other people thought, which can be how assholes act, right? Like assholes are assholes because they don't care about what other people think. But like, I think to his credit, like that was his imparting lesson to Penelope, is just stop caring what other people think and be you. And that's how I think he was just on the pendulum swing of like, don't care what anybody thinks. And I'm just going to act like Mr. Aloof and like, no, I don't care about anybody. Also interesting that they showed scenes of him with prostitutes.
Yeah, the threesomes.
Yeah.
Because there was I think that was a device to show like before and after Penelope, because there was one scene before Penelope where he's super into it and it's really exciting. And then there's a scene after Penelope where he's like,
into it.
I can't even do it. Like, let me just watch. They were like, oh, you want to watch? And he was like, sure, Yeah.
So you already paid for it. Okay.
Yeah. I think that it also might have just been like a test for himself to see how true it was between Penelope, because all of the men in his life, think about Antony, think about Benedict's behavior, think about like the dudes he hangs out with, like they all have a history with that and really loving it and really being into it. Right. So the fact that he was like, I can't even get into it. Yeah. Might have been a sign for him, like, oh, this isn't just a passing fascination with Penelope.
Yeah. And so I just really appreciated the gentle coaching that Violet did in that moment where he was just going to stay home, and it was the night that she was going to get proposed to, that instead of, and even along the way where he was asking these questions on behalf of his sister rather than himself. And she was like, obviously I get what's going on here. Yes. Like I just really loved the parenting by Violet, I think, is such a beautiful standard. Like, it's just like for this world and this time, and like the fact that her goal is to marry off of all of her children, put that aside for a second, but just the way that she balances the gentle, loving, but still like, encouraging you to be courageous and bold and go after the things that you want. I just loved the way that she coaxed and coached the conversation for him to kind of come to his own decision without being told what to do, and ultimately got what he wanted. Yeah. So yay Violet.
Yay Violet. Yeah. I think she does a really good job as well. And I was thinking about you doing during that, because they say that any movie, any TV show, anything you ever watch, it's like watching it with different eyes before and after you have a kid. Yes. Like once you have a kid and you go back and watch the same movie and it hits completely different.
You watch how they parent. Yeah. You watch how they respond to these situations and how they talk to their kids. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yep. That's nice. Yep. And then on the Penelope side of things, obviously her glow up thing, like I got rubbed the wrong way at first by the glow up, because I mean, I think it's just my anti quick fix person in me that's just like, if she wanted to turn from, kind of on the outskirts of every event, doesn't, she's Lady Whistledown. She's like observing everything and not in it. Right. She's a wallflower. And now she wants to enter the husband market, and she goes through a similar journey as Colin, where she's kind of trying on these new facades and trying to find who she is and practice being a different person outside of how she has been in the past. But she's doing it in front of us rather than who Colin kind of went out and practiced all these other people and came back with this facade. She's like stumbling through, like trying to be this flirtatious gal, trying to, get attention, the fan scene with her like giggling. Just Colin looking like, what are you doing? Like, okay. But I felt like, and actually I watched an interview where Nicola, the actress who does Penelope, said the same thing, where she was trying to put on a facade without doing any of the inner work to like shift the thing that needed to shift in order for her to find a husband and love. Like ultimately her goal was to find love, but like she was kind of playing the rules of the game around her and like dressing hotter and prettier and whatever. And then, trying to find the most practical match. But ultimately that's not even what she wanted. Like even at the end of the day with Lord Debling and succeeding with that, she wasn't going to get everything she wanted. She was just playing other people's rules. So I was a little bit like, again, because of the short timeline of the 4 episodes, I was like, oh, there's so much more development here in her personhood that like if this were the full season, we would have gotten a lot more depth about her character development and like the inner changes that were happening for her. But yeah, what can you do?
Yeah. I mean, the thing about the glow up is like I have friends who are either relationship coaches or stylists or like live in that beauty world. And they say that you have to do the inner work, but sometimes if you do the outer work, it's like a step on the path to then do the inner work.
Yes.
And I feel like with also like it just created a new identity for herself that was easier to step into because it separated her from her sisters, how they dress, her mom, how she dressed, the house she lives in. Like literally everything about their life was like that citrus color.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was so bad. And I literally have been thinking that for 2 seasons. Like that girl is gorgeous. Why the fuck do they have her in that? Yeah. And at least I was thinking like maybe it's her armor because if she's wearing that, then she doesn't have to talk to anybody.
Yeah. Nobody's talking to her.
She doesn't have to be rejected because no one's going to approach her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, for sure that like the thing that you gain from a glow up or makeover is that sense of confidence and self-belief, which like, if you don't believe you're beautiful, then you're going to walk into a room exuding that. So the fact that she walked into it feeling like $1 million and feeling like, I paid for this dress and it's beautiful and I look fucking hot. And like everyone just like jaw dropped when she walked in the room. That has a huge impact on a person, of course. But, as far as her accomplishing her goal to find love and marry, I feel like she was straying from her path of like what she actually wanted because, pain pushes till vision pulls. She was like driven by the pain of get the hell out of this house, get some privacy for my writing. Like, let me just fix a broken situation right now rather than, this hopeless romantic woman who reads nothing but romance novels is obsessed with a man, like she's in love. So all that being said, I'm glad that it came full circle and it all worked out. But yeah, that's my life coach was bristling in there. I was like, oh, there's opportunities here to delve deeper into this, but because of the timeline, it went kind of fast.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it did go fast. I think they had to for the sake of the
whatever's
arc
coming
that's
ahead.
coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else about Colin and Penn?
Let me see my notes. What did you think of the Lord Debling love triangle thing?
I thought it was interesting because clearly he was like looking for a practical match, and just thinking about today's society, I think we focus so much on the love match that we don't actually pay any attention to the practical, which is also, I don't think, very good, right? Like this is why people often break up or divorce or separate or whatever, is because they go into it thinking like, well, I want kids and he doesn't, but in time he'll come to see my way of it.
Right.
And then no, sure enough, he was being truthful.
Yeah.
And or religion or like things that can like really get in the way. And so part of me was like really happy to see a Lord Debling character who was focused on the practicality of it. And I think the same thing in Francesca, right? Mm-hmm. Francesca can see that it doesn't have to be love. If it works for her life and with the times the way
friendship
they are,
will grow, love
friendship
will grow.
It can grow. Like this is another way to do it.
Yeah, I felt like similarly, I really respected the Lord Debling character.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel like they pitted some like bad choice versus good choice in her like she would have been fine if she ended up with Lord Debling because and here's one thing that I didn't really love how it kind of wrapped up his character when he said like I'm not sure I have space in my heart for love.
That's what I wrote that down too.
It's like why would he say that? I mean, clearly they had chemistry as friends and like, that whole scene with him disguising him asking for marriage as like, well, if you were writing a book about this, it was so sweet. And
it was
he was
really
like playing
sweet.
to her interests in her world.
And he gave her permission to like be herself.
Totally.
So I don't think she would have grown if it wasn't for his presence. But at the end, I wrote like, I don't think it's fair she can't have other feelings for someone else when you're not willing to even give it to her.
Yeah.
Like you're telling her, no, you can't have feelings for someone else, but I'm not going to give you love feelings either. So you just have to like not have that.
Choose the practical marriage and kill your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I didn't think that was a good writing for his character, to be honest. I felt like, I mean, maybe it's setting him up for like kind of the cold-hearted match with Cressida or something.
Yeah, I think he might come back around. I was thinking potential with Cressida, but I have other Cressida theories. So I don't know. But
we'll go there next.
I think he might, or even I was like, who did I write him with?
I mean, it's just, he clearly wasn't trying to look for a love match. So maybe he just wasn't even thinking of like the possibility of love.
I was thinking maybe Eloise.
For who?
Not that, for Lord Debling, not that they would end up together, but just they both have these really strong opinions about something that they're really invested in. And like, I feel like could be a lot of potential like respect. There could be a connection there. I don't think it's a love connection. But they're also very like mental body intelligent people. I don't know. I just got kind of like
outside
similar.
of society, don't want to play the game kind of thing.
Yeah. Like they see it for what it is. And I think that I don't know, there's something, they're just similar in that way, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. I have more theories on Eloise, but we'll put a pin for that.
We'll come back to Eloise.
Okay. So finish with Lord Debling?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. So on to
the Francesca
I was going to say
storyline.
next triangle.
Yes.
Francesca, Lord Samadani, and Lord Kilmartin, who's actually Lord John Sterling is his name. But he's John Sterling of Kilmartin.
Yes.
Thoughts?
Do
you want to give the summary of their love
Sure. Thing? Yeah. Okay. So Francesca, she kind of comes on the scene. She plays piano like Daphne. She's super into piano, super into music.
Very introverted.
Very introverted. And you can tell she just wants out of that dang house. Like she's what, fifth or something? She's fifth. She's fifth within the line, the Bridgerton
kids
birth lineup. And she's just like plays her piano, which I thought was interesting is she had completely faded into the background in the last 2 seasons. This is a new actress. Or actor. So I thought that was really interesting as they pivoted and they moved her forward. And I think something might have happened. I don't think it was supposed to be Penelope, and I think that they were supposed to be next season.
Oh,
but something moved them up, and because they're such a big arc and they had to put someone else in society, they pulled in Francesca. But now they're giving Hyacinth a lot more lines. Like if you noticed, Hyacinth was more available, and like she's starting to develop her own personality, which I think I don't think she'll be next season, but I think she might be the season after that. So they've started to think, okay, if this is what's coming in a couple seasons, then we got to start building that character arc now. Anyway, so all that to say, Francesca plays piano, super into piano, is like, okay, let's go into society. Her mom, Violet, is worried about the fact that she's just going to pick whatever comes first and easiest so it's over the quickest because she just wants to get it over with. Like, let's just find this husband and be done. Like, I have more important shit to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's presented in front of the queen, and the queen does not necessarily give her the diamond, but she doesn't call anyone the diamond.
Sparkling.
And so they kind of rebrand it as Sparkle rather than Diamond because she doesn't want to get into it with Whistledown, I suppose.
Yeah.
She wants to, so she rebranded. And then Francesca has once the queen hears Francesca play piano, she kind of names Francesca the Sparkler or whatever. And then she introduces her to Lord Samadani, who's from a distant land. I don't remember where he's from.
She said where, but
he's from somewhere else, brings him to London just to meet her. And they have some friction at the very beginning because Samadani also comes from a family of 8 and wants a huge family. And you can tell he's kind of like a Leo. He's like, everybody kind of loves him. He's good with the parties. He's good in society. Like, he's just not like egotistical, but he's just very comfortable. Comfortable, confident extrovert, I would say. And so
likes the chaos of the big house.
Yes, loves that. And so she goes outside at one of the balls just to get some fresh air. And this guy, Lord Kilmartin, comes up to her and says, basically, do you just want to sit in silence together for a hot minute? And she's like, yeah. And so they just stand there breathing fresh air. And it was great.
An introvert's date.
Oh my God, it was so great.
Just quietly being together.
So then they both call on Francesca at the house, and her mom is like confused. Like, wait, you like him? What's going on? They're on the street. I think in the next episode, they go, I think episode 3 maybe. They're her mom and Francesca are on their way to the Modiste, I think, and they happen across Lord Kilmartin. And so Francesca walks up to him and it starts a conversation. Very excited. And there's this violinist playing. Is it a violinist playing in the background? And Kilmartin asks for her opinion. Francesca's like, it's too fast. You can't even hear the melody. It would be much better in 3/4 at a slower pace. So he then like runs off, like very sharply,
just straight up evacuates.
Ends the conversation. And Francesca's like, what the fuck? That was really rude. No, Mom, I'm not into him. And then at the ball, in the next episode, he hands her sheet music that he created based on, he took that melody and did what she said with the melody. And so we leave her, she's playing the melody.
She leaves the ball to go play it.
Yes. And she leaves Samadani with the lemonade that he got her in his hand, and she does not drink the lemonade. And so, so we leave her. She's super into Kilmartin, obviously. She's probably going to say no to Samadani, but the queen is not happy about it. But I do think that Violet is happy about it because this is moving toward a love match. So there you have it.
So what was your initial take on this?
I like that there is a character in a big family who feels like she does. I like that we have that introverted character because I think there's a lot of people who, myself being one of them, who can relate to that. I mean, as someone who likes to sit with my noise canceling headphones just to cancel noise. I love the quiet. I really struggle without the quiet. So I just love that. And I think that I love that the mom is about the love match and says, hey, if the queen says you should marry this guy, but you don't want to, then like, fuck the queen. Yeah, I think that's great. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, a testament to like face acting, like the fact that they don't really say that much to each other, but especially the moment that Lord Kilmartin comes to the ball to hand her that music, and he can clearly see that she's not interested anymore. Like she's upset with him. Like there's this moment where it shows her face where she's just like, what do you want? Kind of vibes. And then he's like excited to see her, disappointed that she's kind of upset. And then it dawns on him, oh, I've done something stupid and I ran away. And then he apologizes for not, explaining better what he was going to go do, or like, I don't know, leaving it on better terms. And then, the gift that obviously meant so much to her. I just really appreciate, so this is the sexual tension building kind of stuff that I love about Bridgerton. That's like, there's so much like, I don't know, build in their relationship. I felt more tension and build in those 4 episodes between those two than Penelope and Colin.
Oh, I did not.
See, but maybe second time around, again, after I built some context from the previous 2 seasons, then I felt like, okay, I see some, the angst in Colin building. And Penelope was just, I can relate to Penelope because I remember at one point very early on, Matt and I were just friends when we first met for about 4 or 5 months. And we kissed. And then Matt was like, let's not mess a good thing up. We're good. We're friends. Like, I don't want to date anybody yet. We're new to college. Let's just like stay friends. And I was like, okay. And just wiped my mind of that kiss. And I was just like, we're just friends. And then within a few weeks, we started dating because Matt was like doing the Colin Bridgerton thing where he was just like, oh my God, I think I'm in love with this woman. And then we started dating, but I was super oblivious to it. And all of my friends were like, y'all are going to get together. And I'm like, no, we're not. It's done. It's not happening. So I just related to Penelope just like not knowing that it was happening. Yeah. Therefore, maybe the tension wasn't what I thought should be there because, clearly there's a mutual attraction that's going on. And like Penelope was always cutting hers off. Like she'd be attracted to him, but then she'd be like, nope, that's not happening. Yep. So just friends.
At least in the second 2 episodes. Before the kiss, it was like, before the kiss, I was like, dude, how are you so blind that she's into you? After the kiss, I was like, chick, why are you so blind that he's so into you? Yeah. So there was definitely like this. Yeah.
Yes, just not at all aware that they were attracted to each other, which probably fed into why I didn't feel that tension.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But we can tell with Francesca and Kilmartin, like, they like each other.
They do. And apparently, and again, like me and my internet spoilers, I was like scrolling through looking. I couldn't remember Kilmartin's name, and I was like trying to search, Francesca's love interests. And apparently there's a whole big book on Francesca, and Lord John Sterling is his name, but they're calling him Kilmartin. And apparently the show's kind of deviating from the books here. But yes, they are fated lovers. They will be together. And I'm excited for it because I think they're going to be. Also, side note, I love all of the interracial couples that this show is building.
Oh, I know.
Like
it's
Violet
great.
And
it's
this other new lord and
Daphne.
Daphne
and
what's his
Anthony.
face? Yeah. All of them.
And I also appreciate that Penelope is not a size 0.
Yeah. I mean, the diversity on the show is extremely intentional. And the fact that she is, a plus size girl on TV having a sex scene,
Fuck yeah, let's go.
Hopefully there will be a sex scene, not just the carriage.
I mean, it was a sexy scene.
Sexy.
Also, I noticed this season they showed at least 2 disabled people. So there was at one point there was an AS, there was a
signing person,
someone who was doing, I don't know, sign language, and then there was a man in a wheelchair.
Yep.
And they didn't make the story about the fact that he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, it was just
which
a
is what
suitor.
we talked about with Iron Flame.
Yeah,
it's like
this is the world.
Their whole story doesn't have to be the fact that they're disabled.
Yep, they are just people.
So
yeah, I loved that. And then the fact that she had good chemistry with it and she was like vibing with him.
Yeah, it was great. That was really good.
Yep.
Anything else about Francesca?
I mean, Lord Samadani, I have a theory. I actually thought he and Eloise might be a thing because there was a moment at some point where Eloise was with him and Francesca and somebody else. They were all in the same room. And there was banter, a really quick banter moment between Samadani and Eloise.
Is it when they were in the library?
Maybe. Yes.
And he was like, oh, I have a collection of over 1,000 books. And Eloise goes like, well, that's
books
exactly.
Love to be collected.
Yeah, books love to be collected. I didn't think of it as chemistry though. I just thought she was like,
she is just witty.
One
everybody.
of those. You're just another one of those men.
Yeah. So. But that's why I don't know, because there's been no contact between Debling and Eloise. I haven't put them in my mind as like a potential. But if we're looking for foreshadowing clues, like that moment could be.
I don't think that Eloise ends up with Lord Debling. I just think that they could have a
friendship.
Okay, now. Can we move on to Eloise and Cressida?
Oh, yes. Let's do it.
Because, so Eloise and Cressida, plotline. Eloise and Cressida have become friends while they were in the country. So they come into this season and now all of a sudden they're friends, which is very different than last season. And
that's because, wasn't it because, so obviously Eloise and Penelope had their rift because she found out she's Lady Whistledown, and Eloise got the shaft in Lady Whistledown the previous season.
Yes.
And then Penelope went away to the country and left.
Oh, perhaps.
Eloise and Cressida in town. And so they were just kind of like, okay, well, you're in town, I'm in town, let's hang out for the summer. And then friends.
Yes. Now, we kind of enter this season. We know it's Cressida's third season out, which is apparently
Spinster
territory. And the situation with Eloise's family is not great. She's the only kid. And so I don't think she has any brothers and sisters. And her dad has like cut off her mom and hers allowance by half.
Because of punishment?
Like, I think because it's like,
why?
Because it's like, it's your third season out. I'm not going to keep investing into something that's not going to come through with a good batch. We're just going to marry you off to one of my old buddies. Oof. So I think that was like the vibe for it. And we also learn that Cressida is not totally evil.
Yeah, we get a lot of like a redemption arc build for Cressida.
Yeah. So Eloise is obviously going through this with Penelope. She's kind of venting about it to Cressida. And then there's a moment where Eloise knows that Colin is helping Penelope.
Yeah.
She tells Cressida in confidence. Cressida keeps the secret, but someone finds out and it ends up in Whistledown.
Yeah.
And so there's this moment of Cressida being like, I haven't told anybody your secrets. Go deal with your shit. Like, this is not my shit. This is your shit.
Yeah.
Go deal with your thing with your friend.
Yeah.
We also have this kind of love triangle with Lord Debling, Cressida, and Penelope because Lord Debling has made his, stand, like said to the community, the ton, that he's looking for a wife this season. He's going to take a wife this season. So they know he's like a hot lead.
Yes.
So they're like, I'm going to follow up on this hot lead. And so Cressida goes for it, but she's being Cressida. She's not really being herself, which I think is so interesting. I think if she was herself and just told Lord Debling, I think nature is kind of crazy, but like I'm looking for a person. And if you can be that, I think they could have possibly end up together.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it had a spark of something when she was like, I prefer to be predator than prey. Like she was using his language in his world, but speaking to her character of like, she is kind of like a predator. Yeah. She's like somebody who's not going to take shit and she's going to fight for her life and kill what needs to be killed in order to achieve what she needs.
Which is really survival for her.
Totally. And that's the thing. Like I felt like, we really humanized Cressida this season where hurt people. Clearly she lives in like even the two things. One with the home, when we saw Cressida in her home when Eloise comes to visit, and like that's the first time a friend has ever come to visit Cressida. How sad is that?
Yeah.
And like she says like, oh, your house looks like a museum. And like she's like more like a mausoleum. Like it's like just like a house of the dead.
Yep.
There's no life and love in it. And like it felt like, she's living in a loveless home and she's basically out to kind of recreate that if she doesn't disrupt that pattern. And then, speaking to the masks, I feel like everybody was kind of wearing armor this season in interesting ways. Her dresses, did you notice how like kind of wild all of her, Cressida's dresses
It's been
were?
like that.
I just didn't notice
she's
it.
Always had and really weird Medusa hair.
Yeah.
She's always had Medusa. It's always been like snakes and things. So her hair has always been like that. Her dresses have always been huge sleeves and kind of like
high fashion kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just like not wearable.
Which is, okay, so here's my theory.
Okay.
So when she leaves, when Eloise leaves Cressida's house.
Yes.
And her dad says, I don't want you seeing that Bridgerton girl again.
Yes.
I thought maybe Cressida's a lesbian. And maybe there's been some situation in the past where mom and dad got wind of it. And that's why they don't want her hanging out with people.
And that's why she's mean to all the women.
And maybe that's why. Like, I was just curious, like, because we haven't had a lesbian character yet. We've had gay characters, we haven't a lesbian character.
True.
So I'm wondering.
Well, no, Benedict has been with men.
That's what I'm saying. We've had we've had gay male characters.
Got it. Not gay women.
We haven't had any gay women characters.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
could be.
And I think that she could potentially see that Eloise is forward thinking enough that she wouldn't judge her.
Yeah.
If she knew. Potentially, she's like, maybe Eloise is even forward thinking enough that she is too, but I don't get that vibe from Eloise.
I don't either, but that does make sense that, Eloise is different than other people, so she's kind of attaching to that.
Maybe I could be open to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it would be okay.
I could totally see that for Cressida. Definitely. That would make a very interesting second part to this season of like, okay, so if she does end up with Debling, or if she just finds a match in some way, shape, or form, does she just build this extramarital women relationships?
Like, I think Debling would be kind of perfect for her because...
Although he's Mr. If you have feelings for anybody else, then don't marry me.
But I think that's more in terms of like society. Like, I don't want you to be in someone else's household. Mm-hmm. I don't, I want you to manage the house. Yeah. I want you to keep my image up. Mm-hmm. Just a thought.
Interesting. I could see it totally. Mm-hmm. There was even an interview somewhere that said, someone said, I think Cressida had a crush on Penelope, and Penelope like scoffed her, backstory kind of a thing. Like, we've never seen it, but that like at some point Penelope scoffed Cressida when she was maybe having some feelings for Penelope. And that's why she has such an intense kind of thing out for Penelope. It's kind of specifically against Penelope, it seems.
Yeah.
So, there's a theory.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anything else about Eloise or Cressida?
So Eloise, you're thinking forms a friendship with Lord Debling. I could also see, she could also represent the kind of, I don't know, asexual spinster, like just not interested in marriage person. She could be that archetype forever in the series. But I'm interested. Again, like, speaking to people trying on different identities, it felt like Cressida and Eloise's friendship, Eloise developed different sides of her by being friends with Cressida. Mm-hmm. Like, she was trying to play the rules more and trying to play the game rather, where she was, participating in society. She would like be part of conversations where people were talking about their weddings and whatever. And she would just like make jokes and just like stand there awkwardly and like say, I don't know what the hell, I don't remember exactly what she said, but she would just make jokes and make light of whatever she could to entertain other women. And they were entertained. They liked her and they thought she was interesting, but she's definitely a different duck,
She is a different duck.
So what I think Cressida is helping her do, I think Penelope and her's friendship, they would just talk so much and they were both so alike that they could just, resonate with each other, and just like you and me, we're just like talking at each other and it's all the same stuff. And we're like, yes, I agree. And me too. And like, that's like how their relationship was. Whereas not with Cressida, like, no. So I feel like Eloise was listening more, like just kind of, this was a season where she was like observing people more, listening more, not opening. Cause I remember at the end, Cressida was like, what do you think about this whole thing? And she's like, I'm so glad you asked. And she like finally opened up about what she really thought of all the things. And here they are months into their friendship and they've never talked about that. So I think this was interesting development for Eloise to, bear witness to somebody who really needed to wed. Like, at the end of the day, Penelope has the fate of taking care of her mother, and like that would be unfortunate, but Penelope was kind of okay with that up until this point. She was like, yeah, whatever, I'll be the spinster and do Lady Whistledown forever and who cares? But then, that shifted, and Eloise also shifted, where she was kind of like, oh, like there's interesting sides to this world that now I'm seeing from the inside.
Yeah, like they were walking through a garden at one point and Cressida said something like, not all of us are fortunate enough to have the backing of our family. Mm-hmm. And I think Eloise was like, oh, yeah, I'm privileged as shit.
Yeah. Like if she wants to be a spinster, she can stay at home. Yeah. Whereas like Cressida is not going to stay at home.
She has a bunch of family who are all really great and love her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so not only would she just stay at home, but like she'd be happy doing it. Mm-hmm. So I think that there was a lot to that.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Anything else about Eloise? I don't think so. I think that, moving to theories about, I think that there might be a season related to Eloise and Benedict.
together, like parallel,
kind of parallel, because in the previous seasons you can see their relationship and they're really close. And so I'm thinking like maybe there's something there between the both of them, kind of like the Francesca Colin thing that's happening right now. Maybe there's something related to that. I don't know though.
Although Benedict has some love interest developing this season, which is interesting with this widow.
Benedict, I think it's just the lot in life of the second son, the spare, that like they get into these situations where they just buck the rules.
Yes. Like, I'm not the one, so I'm just going to live however I want to live.
Because we have him doing in the last season, he went to
art
the
school.
Orgy.
Oh, yeah.
It was like an art school, but there was also an orgy happening.
Yes.
And he came across people who were gay, and he was like, wow, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder if he's bi. But I don't think we ever...
That's my impression. I don't remember specifics, but I have the impression that he is.
Yeah. And then we had, him in this season, he gets with an older woman who I thought this was just so interesting. When they got together, he came and he brought flowers to call on her. Yeah. And then the last thing we see is him throwing the flowers to the ground and then getting
She's like, don't bring me flowers and don't call on me, but we can go up to the bedroom kind of a thing.
Yeah. So I just think it, he didn't really have a huge arc this season.
It's building. I feel like something's happening with this little fling he's having with this woman, because clearly they have chemistry and like the intellectual kind of, they're on the same level. But yeah, I don't know. She might be a tough cookie to crack here with the, I think she's freshly widowed. I want to say maybe it's been a couple of years, but she's like, I'm not interested in marriage, just that kind of vibe. And he might fall hard for her and she doesn't. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if that actually develops into a relationship or if it's just a, heartbreak that with a lot of lessons kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. I think Benedict is going to be in next season's focus.
Yeah.
So
well, they're definitely like
Eloise.
building the arc with him, and they're building the arc with Eloise too. But I think we'll be able to tell more at the end of this season, because I think Eloise, it's almost like the love triangle for what's coming in the next 4 episodes is Penelope, Eloise, and Colin.
Yeah.
Because Eloise knows she's Lady Whistledown, so it's caught between not exposing the truth of her best friend and, her brother who's going to marry that best friend.
And she doesn't even know that they like each other.
Yeah.
Did she know that Penelope had a crush on Colin, or did Penelope hide that the whole time?
Penelope hid it the whole time.
Yeah, this is going to rock Eloise's world, and it's going to rock Colin's world big time. And they might get real mad at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's gonna work out. I have a feeling Eloise is like gonna just need Colin to know. I don't think she needs the world to know. I think she just needs Colin to know.
Yeah. It might just slip out or something weird for Eloise telling Colin, and then
it has to be Penelope who tells Colin. And
I hope so.
Eloise is going to put the smack down to just be like, you got to tell him by this time, or I'm going to tell him, because he's got to know.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
And of course, I think it'll slip out in a way where
he's crushed.
He finds out. Penelope doesn't actually tell him. He finds out in some way. It's probably not Eloise to tell him. It's somebody else.
What if he finds her writing like she found his?
Yeah. Like that's kind of how I think it's going to happen. He'll find out on his own.
Yeah.
Just by chance, or
and then confirm with Eloise. Is this why you guys aren't friends anymore? That whole thing.
Yeah.
Which we haven't spoken about the dynamic of Lady Whistledown writing about Penelope. What did you think about that?
I thought that it was good. I thought she did a good job kind of calling herself out and kind of putting on the hat of, I'm not myself. I am someone else right now, and I'm writing this story.
This is my job.
This is my job. And, it's almost like acting through writing. And yeah, I think she did a really good job. I think it's interesting. Obviously, she, like, what does she get out of being Lady Whistledown?
Money.
Yes, and, she gets money.
She's good at writing, and she gets to live her passion because clearly everybody loves reading it. So like she loves, maybe she also loves the fact that nobody knows it's her. She loves being in the dark.
Secrecy.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of like, she gets to turn her wallflowerness into a superpower.
Yeah.
and, you know, her writing into a superpower. And yeah, I think it's the significance.
And the independence.
It's the independence. I think it's the significance too of like she has so much. She has no control because she's just a spinster and a wallflower, and yet she has so much control.
Yes,
because she's you know this.
Yeah, that's.
secret.
I thought like she was gaining her power in a powerless position. Like she's like the cast-off daughter. No, like her mother doesn't pay her any mind. Society doesn't pay her any mind. Like nobody pays her any mind. And this is how she finds her personal power. Like she has influence that nobody even knows she does.
Yeah. You know? And I'm thinking like how if she finds more purpose and more passion in her relationship with Colin, how is that going to change
when she's out of the world? You know, because then she's not in the mart or the market or whatever. That she's married, which is a totally different world. I think. It'll be interesting, the evolution of Lady Whistledown.
And I was thinking of that in terms of just like Bridgerton as a whole. Like if we think about the show, is so much, it's always about marrying someone off. And they have so many characters. They can do much more of that.
Yes.
But what about paying attention to the characters that are already married? Like we got a little bit of the Anthony and Kate. We got a little bit of them, but it's like,
the fact that Phoebe and what's his face from the first season have just never
come
back.
Gone.
It's weird.
They're just gone.
Yeah.
And I just think about that in like romantic comedies and love stories as a whole. I think we're doing a better job of it now than 10 years ago, obviously. But like there's so much energy and time dedicated to, you know, the coming together and the happily ever after. But like, what about the happily ever after?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What
the
then?
after.
What about the after? Yeah. Anywho.
Yeah, this show could go on 100 years with all the after it explores.
Shit. Grey's Anatomy went on for like 30 fucking seasons or some shit.
I'm here for it. We need a show that lasts longer than 7 seasons. I feel like everybody these days, you know, I'm thinking like Schitt's Creek, like a lot of these kind of just incredible shows that it sweeps everybody into it.
This Is Us.
Yeah, This Is Us. Like they all kind of, they want to end on a high, of course, and they want to, you know, wrap it up with a ending in a good place where it doesn't feel like you're just beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
But I would be happy with a dead horse on this Bridgerton conversation.
Well, if you look at how Grey's did it, like Grey's kept introducing new characters.
Yeah.
And that was kind of how they kept it fresh, but they still maintained like the three that, you know, like Meredith Grey's character, Ellen Pompeo, she was in the beginning all the way through the end. And I was also thinking about the contrast, like the narrator and how they do the narration in Grey's is exactly the same as how they do the narration here with Lady Whistledown, how they're like talking about a theme. And then as the Lady Whistledown is talking about a theme, they're cutting to different scenes that show the theme in action, and they start with it and they end with it. I don't know if that's a Shonda Rhimes original, but and I don't know if she did that in Scandal or in oh gosh, what's the other one? How to Get Away with Murder?
She did. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, because I think a lot of us, like, we're not even paying attention to the words during the intro and the outro.
Thinking. Like, I really wish I could go back, or I should go back and just listen to or read the transcription of Lady Whistledown's talking, because she's laying the like high level themes that like we're kind of getting, but in the moment we're kind of swept up in the drama and the doing of everything. But Lady Whistledown is that like kind of that omniscient narrator that's portraying a bigger story.
Yeah, here's the lesson you're supposed to get here.
Yeah. So that would be worth going back to.
Yeah. I can't remember what we were talking about now.
I think we're wrapping up Cressida and Eloise
and Benedict.
Yes. What about Violet?
Violet and
Lord, the brother of
Lady Danbury.
Exactly.
Which I love the brother of Lady Danbury. Number one, because like he is just my type. You wouldn't know it by looking at my husband, but
that's hilarious.
But he is my type. Anywho,
really?
Oh yeah, Brad will tell you. He's like, I'm shocked I'm not a really tall, buff black man, because Jasmine's all about him. Anywho, because I feel like we're seeing Lady Danbury has been one of those really solid, like just almost moral centers for the show. Yes. And I think Violet as well, but she's just so solid.
She's like the black woman in this world, and Violet's the white woman in this world. Like they hold different power in different ways.
Yeah. And Lady Danbury is just, she's always solid. She's always right.
Mm-hmm.
She's always knows what's going on. She always knows how to fix things. She's just like dialed.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of those areas where she might have a blind spot. I think that he's her first.
Yeah, there's
blind spot.
clearly something, like she said, she called him an unwelcome visitor
Mm-hmm.
when she was talking to the queen, and the queen was like, do I need to like
Banish him?
Yeah. She's like, no, but clearly there's some really, and just like the dynamic, the conversation that we witnessed of her calling him a rake and like saying, you're just womanizing people, don't fuck with my town here.
And she could be right, but I don't really get that sense from him. I feel like this is one of those things where he's evolved and she still sees him from
however he was. Because, what we know of him so far is that he wasn't married from a love match. It was a more practical arrangement, but then it grew into love. Mm-hmm. So it could be that she witnessed the man when he was, on the market and sleeping with a bunch of women, kind of doing the womanizing thing, married the practical match and maybe cheated on her and just like wasn't a good guy. And then eventually maybe fell in love and had a whole life that she didn't witness.
And it also could be about Lady Danbury's story of like she was married off to some old dude who just slept with her over and over and over and over again. And she was basically just waiting until he died.
Yep.
And we know this from the Queen Charlotte, the other story. So maybe it has something to do with how he was involved in that whole process of how she got married off. Like, I don't know, but there's definitely something there.
Yeah. Do you think there's how was the connection with the first season guy? Wasn't he her nephew?
He was, yes.
But clearly a different part of the family. Because that dad died and didn't love that son.
Yes.
He was mean to him.
I think it was her sister or her friend. She knew the mom.
Okay.
She knew, God, why can't we remember
I
his
can't
name?
remember.
Oh, it's right there.
Daphne and what is his name?
What is his
I'm just
name?
going to Google it. You go on.
Yeah, so I think it was that guy's mom that she was either friends with or was a sister or a cousin or some kind of relative. So I don't know how
Simon,
yes. I don't know how the brother plays, how Danbury's brother plays into Simon, but
could be some sort of
some kind of thing there as well.
Yeah.
I do think that him and Violet could be
They
a
got
cool
chemistry.
match. They've got chemistry. All of his
and
kids.
she was like, didn't she end last season like all hot and bothered, like ready? I'm ready.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she
could even like have a fling. Maybe
know.
it's not like a marriage thing. Maybe it's like she just reawakens that part of herself.
Right. That's right. I don't think she'll be ready to actually settle or anything until her kids are more grown. Because she still has Hyacinth and the youngest brother whose name I can't remember.
2 younger brothers, I think. From the cards playing, there was Hyacinth and then 2 boys.
And Benedict.
And then Benedict.
And no, it was Hyacinth, Benedict, Colin, and then the younger brother.
Oh, right. That was Benedict. Okay, yeah. Okay, so just 2 youngers. Okay.
Just Hyacinth and whoever is younger than the youngest boy. So, and I can't see her really, but yeah, I can see a fling for her. And I can see Lady Danbury being like, don't do this.
Don't fuck my brother.
and her being like,
sorry,
we're going to have a good time. And that's going to be that. So who knows? Who knows?
Well, so who are the remaining little storylines we want to tie up?
Remaining storylines, we have the Featheringtons.
Yes.
So the sisters and the mom and this whole
how sex works.
Get them pregnant and explaining how sex works, which they want to have an heir because of something that happened last season around the money.
Yeah.
And
I didn't quite follow what was happening. And that guy from the palace who came in to be like, awfully convenient that this letter just wraps up your inheritance with a pretty bow.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if this were forged. And she's like, it's not forged. Yeah.
Even though it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a whole thing. I think that Lady Featherington, I think she is a really good contrasting character to have. Like, I wrote down quotes from her.
Oh.
Let me tell you one of those quotes. Because she is just the archetype of how the average person thinks during that time. Like, she's like
she's totally bought into the
totally bought in. She's the Matrix. She is the one character that is like completely bought into the Matrix. Okay, so she says this to Penelope.
Okay.
in the library scene.
Yes.
When
The book thing.
And Lord Debling is there, and Penelope opens a book and she's like, put that away. And Penelope's like, well, this is a book about what he's about to go explore, and I can talk to him about it. Yeah. And she says, well, let him tell you about it. Men love to explain the world to us. If we already explained it to ourselves through reading, then they would feel superfluous and unmanned. And I'm like, she just put like mansplaining in like a Bridgerton context. And like, I just love these things that are still, I mean, she's not wrong. Like, she's not wrong. Man love to explain things to us. And there are times when we just nod our head, even though we know what they're telling us, but we just let them tell us anyway. Because if we say,
I read a book about this,
I know that,
yeah,
they're going to feel like their egos get bruised.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of, I think we're meant to feel very mixed about Lady Featherington.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of, the mothering journey that she went through last season by losing her husband and losing the fortune and finding out he was lying the whole time, and just like, being kind of shouldered with the burden of figuring out what she's going to do with her daughters and getting them married off and
then
all of the things.
She had that other person there who was
that cousin.
The cousin whose name is escaping me. But yeah, and so she had to deal with that too, which was all related to his gambling.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I have a lot of empathy for, she's just so blinded by, like you said, the Matrix. Like, she's just like, there is no other way to think of, like, she's just trying to please the elites and fit in, rather than embracing how they don't fit in and they're different and, all that. So I feel like Lady Featherington would be the biggest transformation story of like the adults of the Ton throughout this whole show. Like, from her at the beginning to her at the very end of this show, we're going to see a really different human being. And I think we're really in that evolution where she's revealing a lot of the things that Penelope like rolls her eyes out of, like, no, Mom, that's just not how it works anymore, and maybe she's going to learn, like, maybe she's going to witness Penelope making a love match and like having a Bridgerton name and all of that kind of stuff, and having that safe and secure attachment to the society that now she's going to see some new world and evolve as a person a lot.
Yeah. I wonder if that also comes in when she learns out who Lady Whistledown is.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, that would be huge. That would potentially blow up the family because of how much Lady Whistledown destroyed their family reputation in that when all of that was going down. Like, could be some. And
also, like, Mom, you're set. I'm rich.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, some of that as well. Yeah. Like, you can do more.
Yeah.
Than just marry up.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Lady Featherington, I think she's just.
And I appreciated the humor that the sisters were in the season. I was like, they are the perfect comic relief.
They are. They're very good comedian. Yeah, they're very good at that.
We lay together before we came. Oh, we kissed.
Inserts himself. Where?
Yeah.
And then the last kind of group I have on here is the Mondrich family.
That was cool.
Yeah. That was nice to see them kind of
coming from out of the Matrix and into the Matrix. They're the first characters we've really seen do that in that way. What did you think of like the struggle to release your bar? He owns a bar.
Yeah.
They say, get the hell out of there. The wife and Lady Danbury are kind of like, accept the gifts of this society that you don't have to work. Let it go. But he wants to hold on to this thing that he built,
I think they both struggle with receiving a thing. Like,
totally.
He struggles with receiving the idea of not working. And I think it's because it gives him a lot of passion and purpose and he loves it. So I think it comes from a really healthy place that he wants to keep his bar. He doesn't want to lose that identity, not because he doesn't want to be seen as a lord or whatever, but just because he likes what he does.
Yeah.
And then the Mrs. Mondrich, struggles with receiving the money.
Yeah.
And the idea of like, I don't have to work for this.
Yeah.
And I think at one point, Mr. Mondrich says to her, like,
she says, we didn't earn this.
We
and
didn't
he's like,
earn
nobody
this.
did.
He's like, everyone else just, they were birthed into this as well.
Yeah.
Like, there is no.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was interesting to see them with the elements of receiving that either of them struggled with, and also it's the fact that it's their kid. Like that's got to be kind of weird. Is like from a parenting perspective, how do you raise them and not, I don't know, have them come off entitled or like?
Well, I feel like this is the best of both worlds, where yes, technically I think there will be for sure teenage years and early years where their son grows up into kind of a prick. Like he's gonna have a prick era.
He's gonna have a rake season.
Yeah, but like they have, like those kids are gonna be so blessed to have parents who have lived outside of that and have the gratitude for what life outside of that kind of luxury is like. In the same way that you and I, like, we don't come from money, but we seek to create generational wealth for our families, and like, because of our perspectives and our history and our, self-work and all that we can create that kind of lifestyle for our kids, but instill in them a sense of gratitude and, understanding their privilege and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think that's a gift to the kids. Like, yeah, those kids are going to seem really entitled compared to their childhood, but that's what every parent wants. Like you want to give your kid a better situation. So it's the best of both worlds that now their kids are set and they get to live in a mansion. Pretty nice. Yeah. Also appreciated that the jewels were
on point.
A good touch. Yep, but jewels the dresses can retire.
Can go. It can go. A shout out to the Queen's hair.
Oh my. The like spinning like swan.
There was this part where it was like, was it Swan Lake that they
I
were
think
doing?
so.
There was these ballet performance of Swan Lake, and it was like a cavern inside of the wig that had these swans swimming on a lake. The other one that I noticed was when the girls came in to present themselves. What's that called? Presentation. All the girls had these huge feathers on their head, right?
Yes, and the white feather.
Yes, and her hair looked exactly like a big white feather.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there's like funny things that you can pick up on.
The costuming department and hair and makeup department in this show, if they don't have like every Emmy under the sun, they should, because like, and the music, I just love. Every time I come back to Bridgerton, I'm like, the brilliance of taking new music and classicalizing it is just so fucking good. It's so fucking good.
And because we know the music, so when Penelope comes out, like during her glow up, the song is "Forget You" by Olivia something. Yeah.
Rodrigo? No?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so there's that one. At one point it was Cheap Thrills by Sia that came out when it was like, she's like, fuck this, I don't have a man, but it's fine. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna be at the ball, Yes. So I just love that like the songs they pick are the words of today are actually accurate for the scene that's happening.
Yes.
The other thing I noticed is they name their episodes in pretty cool ways. And it's taken from a snippet of, usually I think of Lady Whistledown's narration. So like the first one, Out of the Shadows. What does Penelope do? Comes out of the shadows. Episode 2 was How Bright the Moon, which there was like this interesting play on the moon in this episode, because they were talking about, during the narration, she's talking about how bright the moon, but there was also an allusion to moon cycles with women, because Lady Feathering was talking about, you got to get pregnant, it's about to be a full moon, it's a very auspicious time kind of thing. So I thought that was interesting. Forces of Nature
was that also the episode that they kissed in the night?
Yeah,
so like under the moon.
Yep. And then Forces of Nature was episode 3. I don't remember, I didn't catch where that was inside. That was
something about the balloon,
and the wind and the pulling, and so I don't totally remember. And then the last one was Old Friends. We're just old friends. We're just old friends. I love it when they do stuff like that too. I mean, there's more. We could definitely
We're over an hour already. I didn't even know you had it in you to go.
Some details, yes.
Well, let's wrap up with the carriage scene.
Okay, let's do it.
What did you think of the carriage scene?
I was quite pleased.
Mm-hmm.
I was quite pleased. I think that I love that, like, she's never really been touched. She's never had this. And it's just so great that it was with someone she loved and she wanted to use forever. And, like, she trusted. Mm-hmm. And I loved that for her, that she felt so safe and comfortable and that she was just in the moment and wasn't worried about what's going on outside or with other people. And I love that she got to be surprised, you know? Like, yeah she was kind of oblivious, but, like, to be surprised like that is...
By
like,
her wildest dreams coming true.
I've had that experience in high school, and it is awesome. Like, it is so good. And I love at the end when he makes a joke, and he's like, can they just keep driving?
Yeah.
And then they both start cracking up, and it was like the perfect and then how he, you know, proposes but doesn't propose. It's just like a really great like way that the writers integrated their friendship directly into their relationship, and it's like they didn't even miss a beat. There was no like, oh, how are we gonna do this now that we're together but we've been friends? It was like, no, we're just us. This is just a new it's just us still. It's just a new evolution of us that happens so seamlessly. So what were your thoughts?
I mean, you spoke a lot about Penelope's perspective. I feel like from Colin's perspective, one of the things that I loved the most about it was when he put her like dress back on her shoulder and was like getting her back put together, like when they're like fixing her hair a little bit, fixing her shoulder. I was like, okay, yes, this is a friend taking care of the woman that he cares about, aside from the fact that he's into her, you know? So I really appreciated the small little touches that they did with Colin's like body language and like him fixing her and making it.
He asked permission before he went under the skirt.
Yeah. And I was a little confused though. Why did he say come into Bridgerton house? Like, was he inviting her to go to bed with him?
I don't think so. I think it was just he knew they were going to be together and he wanted to tell the family. I think that's what it was. I also know Colin did not ask permission. I also think it was an element of like, that's where Penelope said she felt most comfortable was the Bridgerton drawing room. Yeah. And so...
just go into the house and something's going to happen. Something's going to go down in the Bridgerton house. The fact that they just left in the middle, like end of carriage ride to the Bridgerton house, and we're going to pick
Eloise is going to freak the fuck out. Is what's going to happen.
Totally. Imagine though, like if Eloise freaks out and then her revenge is saying like, you're Lady Whistledown, you know, like imagine this all happens like right now at the top of part 2.
I don't think it will.
I hope not, because that would crumble Colin's like...
I think that we'll get moments of Penelope being like so happy and being terrified to tell him because she thinks that when she tells him it's going to be over.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
And that's why she's not going to want to tell him. But the exact reason why she has to.
So exciting.
Well, come back in 4 weeks when we talk about Bridgerton part 2.
All right. Please send us an email at dogmomsdobusiness@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your input on our previous last episodes. If you sent us emails about our rebranding and all of that, we really look forward to speaking with you again soon. So
yes. Send us your theories. Send us your thoughts. We will air them live for the
Yes. All right. Bye.
Bye.